Started.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's up. Yeah.
All right. Okay, are there any changes to the agenda? Board? Chief, are there any changes from your side?
No, sir.
Okay, hearing none, then let's move on to let's sign up for public comment.
We have Fletcher and Aaron Peterson.
Okay. So is there an order?
No, sir.
Rick Fletcher first?
This where you want the podium?
Sure.
Okay. I got 3 documents I will give you first.
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty good. I got shot. Thank you. Oh, I'll state my name, Rick Fletcher, on Highland Road, Rainier, Oregon, taxpayer for this fire district. Tonight, the board have handed you 3 papers. The first one is a general order sent out by Deputy Chief Smythe, July 16th, 2022. At the bottom of this general order, it says electrical policies will make any and other all existing policies and procedures null and void effective August 16th. If that's so, why did Kate Leonard send me a public comment board meeting sheet with the rules for the meeting in the old policies manual? This is dated 2011. And the public records request form I got was also an old form of the old policy. So which policies are you using, Chief? The ones that just fit your needs at the time? The other I handed you is a statement that was sent from an employee from me here, an employee here. The name has been removed to protect the innocent from retaliation of an incident that happened on Friday, February 10th, 2023. At 0845, the crew at Deer Island, or Fairground Station, I should say, noticed after return from the call, they had air leak coming from their tire on the right front valve stem. They notified the appropriate chiefs to get the on-duty mechanic that day to come out and repair it. On Friday, remember, they were advised by the BC that the mechanic wouldn't be able to come repair that tire because their overtime wasn't approved. Let's see, you have $6,000 in the budget for, on page 19, for mechanics on-call pay that was supposed to be $100 a week to be available to whoever was on call and to drive a service truck home for that purpose. But they can't come fix a simple tire valve stem or put on a spare tire. The crew asked if they call that Schwab to come repair it, and they were told they'd have to pay for it themselves. So why are the mechanics even driving trucks home if the budget is so tight and the fuel costs the way they are? When I left here in 2019, the only on-call mechanic was going to drive the vehicle home at night, not both. The medic unit was basically browned out for the entire weekend into Monday, even into Monday. The crew had to get a reserve medic, put their ALS gear on it in the morning, and every evening, due to having to leave it outside, they had to take it back to LBC and go without a medic at Fairgrounds all night for the weekend. What's wrong with this picture? How about the several hostile workplace complaints about the chief that have been filed? How much does this cost the district in legal fees? Are they ever going to be released to the public so we can see the results? Guess I'll have to ask for a public records request there too. Last thing is item 3. Medina fired the volunteer coordinator that was grant funded, saying lack of funding in the budget for this position. Yet on page 15 of his own budget for fiscal year 22-23, he shows the amount of $93,750 for wages that are supposed to be appropriated this year in this budget and $52,000 for benefits. Other departments in the counties have now agreed to apply for a grant for this position to get another volunteer coordinator from county, less Columbia River. Medina got upset about this, I understand, and even sent a letter out to them saying the benefits were not included in the grant. Why are they in your budget? How could that be? Maybe he made a mistake? Thank you.
Hello, Aaron Peterson. Everybody is familiar with me. Firefighter paramedic with the district VP of the local unit. Just wanted to thank the board for taking the time to go through the contract and vote on it. Especially directors Hans and Hudson for, I know that was a pretty long drawn out process, but we got through it. It wasn't always fun, but I think we came up with a pretty good deal that everyone seems happy with. And especially with the overall goal, I think with the goal of trying to attract and retain qualified personnel. I think that'll go a long way towards that. Just want to say thanks.
Thanks, Eric. That's it for public comment?
There's no one else on the, that signed up, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is correspondence. I don't think we have any correspondence this packet.
No, sir. No correspondence.
Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the last board meeting. We have the cash flow analysis.
The cash flow analysis, sorry, doing double duty. So the cash flow analysis is the most up to date. February on there is the latest. I will have you know that since that was created, and the good news, the GMT funding has been received. Tax turnover wasn't on there the day with the statements were included, so you can add 133 to that, and almost a little over 300,000 for GMT funding as well in terms of revenue. So that's great news.
That's 433 total.
Yeah, yes, sir. Other than that, there's no big changes. We're waiting on the final inspection for the building, and once the final inspection is done and they pass and we get our blessing from the city, then we will disperse the final funds.
To the contractor.
Yes, sir. Within the contract that we've had.
Anything other than what you described stands out in the spending this month?
The only thing that's a little different is when we did that previous resolution. So if you look, the previous resolution for IT and stuff, we paid for that, and you'll see that reflective in there. And I have the documentation from that resolution. So our IT, when we were moving over security and the IT resolution, we had a couple meetings back. So now the building has been updated with that. So that's been a bonus with everybody putting that together. So that has been paid for.
Are there any questions for the chief? Any questions on the meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
I think that's an aye.
That was an aye.
5-0, motion carries. Next, chief officer report.
So we're moving ahead with moving into the building. We should be in shortly. The big thing is getting the CO from the city. And other than that, we're just meeting, and we've done already one meeting with looking at the budget for fiscal year 23-24. And that meeting was done with staff officers and the line PCs. We're helping, it's working into the strategic plan, which we're looking at possibly trying to do something like a town hall type of, review of the strategic plan that we have. Because we have, the plan, the draft that we gave to you was for 1 and 5 years. So the real issue is hitting year 3. We're still moving forward with, so that's how we're gonna handle that. We're still moving forward with, the land acquisition for our 4th fully staffed station in Columbia City. We're also looking to continue to see about, increasing the numbers and to advertise and recruit for firefighter paramedics. We're gonna do a national recruitment. We seek legal counsel over the, what we can do as far as like, for recruiting people coming from other places in those states. Because the issue for paramedics to try to compete against some of the larger agencies is just an unrealistic. I mean, we're gonna try still, but it's an unrealistic, really, expectation. One of the things that we haven't done is national, real hard national. So that's what we're gonna do also. Whatever we can to enhance our the goal is to, and it'll be in the strategic plan, is to get to the point that by the time we get to the construction of the new station at, in Columbia City, that we'll have 6 personnel extra, enough to man it. That'll involve 3 lieutenant positions, create 3 lieutenant positions for that new station, 1 for each shift, and things such as that. That's all we're looking at in the strategic plan. Other than that, everything seems to be going on task with what we drafted out as being the first year. We've achieved a lot of those things. I think we have a firm grasp as to where we are and how we can put the numbers together for fiscal year 23, 24. We've contacted Prescott, the city of Prescott, and we're looking at putting a volunteer station in Prescott as well. Now, ODF, we had some apparatus that was stored at ODF, of which we paid rent for that facility, but we were advised by ODF that they need that back. So it's just a matter of moving apparatus around. But the goal is to have a station in Prescott, a station in Columbia City, a station in Rainier, and a station in St. Helens. And I still think that we're going to be short a station, considering the growth and the potential growth in the direction that that's going. The next station would probably have to go along the I-30 corridor south between St. Helens and Scappoose, because that's really the only direction that growth can really go, there and up. So
That's years from now.
That's long term. The forecast and the prognostication that we have with the strategic plan also involve finding a resolution to the unencumbered ending fund balance, which is basically, in layman's terms, we call it cash carry. So we found an avenue for which to achieve that. The budget's really going to be based all around that to create an avenue for the district to really be a little bit more autonomous in the process. Now, I can probably see the accounts that we have opened up for the revolving line of credit. I can see that carrying on even past the 1.9 million or 2 million that we need to have for an unappropriated ending fund balance. I can see carrying on past that because we also don't have a contingency. So after we achieve the unappropriated ending fund balance, and for Oregon state statutes, we're mandated to have that. Once we achieve that, then the next thing to achieve is a contingency fund, an actual cash contingency. So, I mean, we're talking probably 10 years down the road. But the decisions that we make today are gonna impact this 10 years down. That's why we're making them. We're reviewing everything and making sure that everything is in line to be able to prepare this district to absorb the growth and parallel the growth of this county.
Can you talk a little bit about? Yeah, watercraft.
Yeah, I'll let Chief Smite go ahead and speak on that. Let me just say that one of the things that always surprised me when I came here to Columbia River is that we cover so much riverfront and don't really have an active practical marine unit. The issue is that the marine unit really is low down on the priority scale because of cost. Chief Smythe ended up finding a resolution to that, and along with the support of the Columbia County Sheriff's Office, we were able to achieve that. Chief Smythe?
So later in the meeting, we'll be talking about several resolutions, but as far as the bulletproof watercraft, the Federal Excessive Equipment Program, the FEP, Kelly assists with that at OEF and the Salem office. They had a vessel come available from Department of Natural Resources out of Bonneville Dam, and ourselves and the sheriffs put in for the boat, requesting the boat. There's no cost for it. Basically, we just assume the boat. Sheriff Pixley contacted me and said, we've already got several boats. We'll acquiesce this one to you guys when I get tested. And they want to work with us on the development of our water program and work with the sheriffs and as a joint or mutual partnership to be able to staff watercraft should we need them on the river or anywhere along the waterfront. And so this vessel is out again at Bonneville Dam at DNR. And then we also did receive a Spire grant for a low water flood water vessel, 20 to 22 foot flat bottom jet drive for our flooding that we have here in the county as a mutual aid resource as well. I don't have a date to when that one's going to be given to us, but my understanding is they're picking a vendor to build them now.
So what Spires grant? What is that?
Spires is an equipment grant. They had several tiers. It was through every county in Oregon. The county EOC those tiers. Tier one had either high water rescue vehicle, water boat or watercraft, generators. Some they call them Emily's, basically a little torpedo that's remote control that can go out and recover somebody out in the river as long as they hold on to it, drive back to shore. There's tier one, tier two with drones and crew buggies and stuff like that. So they had several tiers. We went for a tier one asset, which was either a high water vehicle or a watercraft, and we were successful getting the watercraft grant.
So this is a brand new boat.
The one from Spires is, this one from FEP is not.
So do we have any specifications on the one that's being built? Or
The
we just give it and
specification-
Take us.
The specifications were defined by the state, and we do have them. They're about 3 or 4 pages long. They went out to about 10 vendors, and I believe they're going to be picking a vendor here sometime this month. And once that happens, we don't have a timeline. I did ask that I've been in contact with Sean over at the EOC and our state rep, and I'm just probably just be fall before we see the secondary low water craft vessel that we asked for. And then the second, we'll talk about it, and I believe it was in either the chief's report well as the second resolution, which was another FEP asset that we were able to obtain, which is a high water vehicle Unimog from Royal Slope in Washington. And again, it was another FEP asset that we're going to drive 6 hours to go pick up and bring it back. And we're going to develop that for our TRT. And again, for flood water, it has the ground clearance to clear flooded areas. They were used in previous floods when Vernonia flooded and that other. So another FEP vehicle, and you guys we'll talk about that in the resolutions here later in the community.
The issue with securing these vehicles now is that when it comes to FEP, you have to get them while they're available. We haven't worked through the staffing for the marine vehicle or the construction of either the TRT or a rescue vehicle. Because the rescue vehicle that we have now that the volunteers use is sorely needs to be refreshed, either by a new vehicle or by constructing something. The Unimog could fill that. It was no cost to us to go ahead and get it. So the idea was to tie it up and then make the decision later, rather than not have it at all. We still have a 5,500 chassis that's a quad cab that was approved in 2018?
No.
2020. It was approved in 2020, in July 2020. So the advantage of that is that vehicle gets purchased in 2020 prices, which is unheard of. The mindset is that if we can get that vehicle, if the vehicle comes in, we've been waiting for it forever. We received another vehicle that was just ordered in 2018, and we just received it this year. But it doesn't make any sense to not get it if the pricings are from 2020. But that's about all. We're continuing. The next project that we have coming up would be the bathrooms and the bathrooms and the reassignment of creating more living spaces. Again, this is also in that draft sort of strategic plan that we kicked out, because the idea is we needed to create it's a domino effect. It all has to be planned out, and you have to hit every milestone, or else everything gets pushed back. I was never a fan of living in like trailers or things like that. And not only that, they're very expensive, and it's just throwing money away. So the idea is that the next step to go is eventually to get out to fairgrounds, and totally revamp fairgrounds to be able to house 4 people, 4 crew members, to be able to house 2 stations. We've already gotten the okay from the county to be able to augment that station by adding a little bit of things to it. But then the question would be, what do we do with the people at fairgrounds? Well, because of what we've added, and it's the least amount of money that we can do and create the most amount of space. We'd be able to move the fairgrounds people down to St. Helens, then have fairgrounds be vacated, and then start working on fairgrounds to upgrade. The logistics that we need, that this organization needs is just, it's crazy. I mean, we've got fire stations that were built in the 50s and nothing has been done to upgrade. The goal is to work our way around strategically to all the fire stations and increase the everything from the bathrooms to, like, for example, in St. Helens, you need to have 2 bathrooms, and one of them needs to be a female one, male one. There's federal and Oregon state laws against it that mandate that you do that. So we have a plan, and we're moving forward to try to fix that also. So we've got a lot of irons in the fire, and there's a lot of things coming up. So long as we continue to plan and have foreseeability, I'm confident that we can achieve all the goals and present to you a strategic plan that really outlines not just 5 years, because the strategic plan is only going to go for 5 years, but the stuff that we're talking about is going to take us to 2030. Okay, so we're really going to go a lot more than 5 years, but it all depends on how we can get everything to fall together. And as long as we stick to the plan, we should be okay.
So that reminds me, in the previous meeting, we talked about extending the lease of the fairground station. So
Yes, sir.
that's successful.
We still have to petition the county to allow us to do that. I've spoken to a couple of the county commissioners, and they don't have an issue with it. And again, remember, the issue with that is that if we need to get grants or funding for that, the lease is 50%, past 50% already expired. And that seems to be some kind of trigger for somebody. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you have it'd be an example, if you have a 12-month lease, you're 7 months into it, they don't feel that you have enough retainability to actually go ahead and get grants and borrow money towards it. So while we did have a 99-year lease, we're way 50 years over, we're more than halfway through that lease. So to be able to tie in the grants and all the things that we needed to renew the lease so we get another 99 years so that we would be in consideration for it. We've spoken to the county commissioners, we just haven't put together documentations to move forward. Because of that's also going to impact the strategic plan.
Chief, also in the packet, there's a memo for the volunteer training. Want to talk about this?
Chief Slade?
Can we connect a couple questions before we move on to that?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, so while you're talking about the buildings, you know, I heard Prescott and I saw it in the package and I was there at the Columbia City presentation that what, you have that station just off the highway in the middle there, Deer Island. So, I mean, I understand 100% of making sure that we have good living quarters for our staff. At the same time, though, we have these other buildings out there to support other folks and stuff. Are we gonna let them go, or are we gonna utilize those somehow into the plan?
No, they're all included in the plan. Both Fern Hill, Goble, Deer Island, all the stations are included in the strategic plan. They're all laid out in the manner that which we can rotate. For example, we want to do Rainier. Really Rainier would be my primary focus. But then what do we do with the people and with the apparatus? So the accessibility of building the fire station at Columbia City, what that does is that allows us to take the Rainier people and split them between Fern Hill and the Columbia City to be able to still respond to Rainier, right? And then at that point, we gut Rainier and completely do a rebuild to make the stations. The stations need attention.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that we can't keep throwing good money after bad. So there needs to be a long-term plan where we lay it out and just hit the milestone step by step. It's there, and that involves all the stations. I mean, you know, putting together a strategic plan doesn't mean anything if you haven't identified the resources of how you're going to achieve it, which is why it's been taken so long to really get to this point. But we're at a point now where we have foreseeability, and we also have identified the process by which we can achieve the goals of a strategic plan. We're still on board to have a completed strategic plan by the end of this fiscal year, as we stated earlier. To answer your question? Dorothy?
Yes.
Any other questions before? So can you talk about the volunteer training?
Chief Smythe?
So working with Chief Mendola and training, previously we have done fire academies for volunteers starting in every January, February, and going through June. What we found was that our retention was very, very low. We could have as many as 10 stars, and then within a year, we're down to 2. A lot of them, it was asking a lot of them to give up their most of work Monday through Friday, and then to give up their entire weekend for an academy, or even half a weekend for their academy, was very limiting. And so working with Chief Mendola, we came up with a tiered process that we start folks at what we call the student level. IDLH, so they will be non-entry. They will be given limited gear, but they will be trained for the cold zone operation. So assisting with the guys putting the trucks back to service, changing out the SCBA bottles, things of that nature, going on EMS calls, supporting EMS calls. And we currently have, I believe, 13 or 14 people that have put in for the volunteers. And at this level, they will not be doing the physical agility because they're not going to be doing any firefighting operations, structural firefighting. We are going to train to plow that. At the end of that program, which we estimate approximately 6 months after they start, those that want to move up to the next tier would move to what are black helmets, or would take the fire academy. We would do a standard fire academy for them to become what we call apprentice level firefighters. They would be limited non-IDLH. They would only go in as the third person in the crew or with several seasoned members, and they would not be allowed to be operating independently on a fire or with another crew of black helmets. And they work through that until they've completed their firefighter one, at which point they become a journeyman. And we assist them with firefighter two and any other level or any other education they want to obtain. But we believe, and after speaking with this group, this could be potentially successful for us. It gets these folks here, it gets them excited, and a few of them may decide this is not this is not for them in that first level and say, yeah, I'm out. Or we might have some that go, I don't want to do that physical stuff. I just want to help drive trucks. I want to, we have some guys that are loggers, like I'm more happy to drive water tender. So they might stay at tier one, and then we'd incorporate that training in there that allows them to bring his heavy equipment on fires. So we're trying something new to see if we can retain our volunteers and excite the community and get our numbers back up.
Okay, the plan for recruitment, I mean, when this whole recruitment thing process started, we had like 42, 45 volunteers, of which we have 12 now. And I'll tell you, after the fire up there on Columbia Hills, we need the volunteers. I mean, for the first half hour, there was maybe 6 people here there. Chief Gorsuch and myself, right? And I was actually pulling hose in my bunker gear, doing firefighting stuff. When you got the fire chief doing firefighting stuff, we need more people, which is why Columbia City becomes such an important thing for us, okay? So we went from originally having 45 volunteers to having 12. And, the extent of our volunteering was like a little Facebook stuff and putting A-frame signs in front of the stations and on corners that they never got seen. So what have we done? Well, we've contacted the Plymouth Pub, and now we have an A-frame sign for recruitment somewhere there. Somewhere where that's more visible than as somebody driving by 55 miles an hour. We already contacted the grocery outlet. Okay, we're gonna put a recruitment sign in front of there. Then we're gonna go after Safeway and we're going after Walmart. Okay, now the big issue with this that we discovered is that most of the time, the way it happens is somebody would put in their letter to volunteer and nothing would happen for a year. Because if you put your letter in like February and you'd already done the academy, nobody else contacted you until the following November or December to start the academy in January. That's not a way to retain people, and that's not a way to get people to come in and be more involved. So the idea is we get them, they put in, and we immediately find a way to start incorporating them in help. Let me tell you something. It would have been great if we had like a canteen truck and a couple of volunteers who want to volunteer, because there was people on scene that were already helping us. Now, if we can incorporate them and bring them more into the fold, somebody could have gone to the station and picked up a canteen truck, which is also in the strategic plan to get, and at least taking us water and shelter and things such as that, which we don't have the personnel for. The volunteer services is the core of Columbia River. But to do the same thing over and over again, when we've gone from 42 volunteers to 12, is just ridiculous. We needed to do a change. We need to have metrics that identify if the things that we're doing are successful or not. We haven't had that in the past. We just kind of did stuff and then saw it, see if it kind of works out. Okay, that doesn't serve any practical purpose. So we're looking to actually be more proactive, and the second people decide they want to volunteer, engage them immediately. We've got people that want to volunteer just to do EMS. That would be a great thing. That'd be a great help. That would be a great help. I can tell you that on several occasions already, when we had some things come up, Ray Malone, who's actually, one of our mechanics and also a volunteer, came down and I put him in a truck because he's also an emergency medical responder to run some BLS calls with another volunteer, to at least show up on scene and not have calls just hanging. So there's a lot of ways to use the volunteers. There's a lot of things that we can do to help the call volume and the things that we do. But we have to be proactive, and we have to have foreseeability, and we have to be willing to make hard decisions. Okay, this is a time for serious people to make serious decisions. Now, I completely understand that change is positive. Okay, transition can be a little painful. That's why they call it growing pains. But rest assured, gentlemen, that this district is gonna grow in population. Okay, Walmart's leaving Portland. A CVS is leaving Portland. Walgreens is leaving Portland. Different other grocery stores are leaving Portland. So your choices are gonna be either Hillsborough or Beaverton or Scappoose and St. Helens. Because we're the closest proximity. Now you go to Hillsborough and Beaverton, you gotta cross Cornelius Pass. How are you gonna do that in the wintertime? Trust me, I'm from Florida. I've seen that. It's damn near next to impossible. And if you don't cross Cornelius Pass, then you gotta take 26. And that's an absolute parking lot. So the only really realistic place to go is either south of Portland or north of Portland. Okay, with the Gable Street projects that's coming up, that's not gonna be the last one that we see here. With also the riverfront project that's gonna be going up with St. Helens, there's gonna be more people here. And I can tell you that our guys are taxed already. They're taxed. And the ability to, and the lack of paramedics nationwide is something else that's complicating and adding the problem. Okay? Do we have solutions? We have a plan. Okay? We have a plan. Now, whether that plan works or not remains to be seen. But it's a plan with metrics, with very specific milestones, and based on national, I'm talking about now, industry standards and best practice standards. And we're looking at everything and making sure that we can take this organization to parallel the needs of the citizens of this county. And I believe we're doing that.
So I like what you said. This is something that, I mean, I was a volunteer here for 13 years before I got on board. And I can appreciate it. It's something that we discussed for years about having, EMS only volunteers and stuff like that. So, and everything was good on paper. The only thing I would add is, and I can say that because I've been here for long enough, is there needs to be a little shift in culture too, to make the volunteers and well, the staff in general, make them feel appreciated, wanted. We have a purpose for them, and treating them correctly. Because in my 13 years as a volunteer, that didn't always take place. And I'm not saying that comes from you. I'm looking at you as I'm talking to you. That's just a general statement.
Well, I'm glad you're saying it's not because of me, because I've only been here 2 years.
No, I didn't say it was, but that will help with a culture change. Is to more important as to how we treat the people. And that's not just volunteers. That goes for the entire department of making them feel appreciated and wanted and having something useful for them to do. I do like the approach. I hope it is successful.
So do I, sir. So do I. I can tell you that we met with the volunteers, and one of the things that they want to do is they talk about an era long gone past when they used to have the rescue truck at St. Helens. And that's one of the things that they've requested for us to look into. And we're looking at everything. We have sat down and talked to them about the things that they would like to see happen. It's only 12 of them. It's not like it's too hard. Now, the issue happens to be, though, is that the enthusiasm comes by increasing the numbers. You don't increase the numbers for recruitment and retention by having somebody put in an application and having it sit in the drawer for a year. That's not how it's done. You don't recruit by just putting A-frame signs on every corner. I mean, you have to be more than that. We're actually looking to grab a media company, okay? And because you don't pay benefits, because you don't pay tolls, because you do a per diem schedule, it ends up being way under the threshold of anything we could ever do. And we set metrics to make sure we can identify that it's working. I am not tied to any decision that I make. I don't put ego on it. It is what it is. If it doesn't work, we make another decision. That's the key to being a firefighter. You make a decision to handle the situation, okay? If the consequences aren't tenable, then what you do is make another decision. And you keep making decisions until you get to where you want to be. That's actually what we've been doing for the last 2 years. But now we have a path. We have a path. And that path is going to be open and disclosed as we have been with everything. Okay? It's going to be easy. you're gonna see that the meat and potatoes of our budget for fiscal year 23-24 is gonna be like 8 pages. The budgets here have been like 50 pages, 150 pages, 120 pages. That's more pages than I think a normal person could understand. It doesn't need to be like that. It needs to be like operations, new equipment, $15,000. This is equipment we're looking for, period. We're not splitting atoms here. I mean, it's not like we're building bridges. We put wet stuff on the hot stuff, and then we take people to the hospital. So, you know, I mean, we've also met, I just want you to know, because our transport times are crazy, and they are beating up the vehicles. Because this is one of the things that I've told the board before. You know, okay, we run almost 7,000 calls, I get it, but time on task is crazy. I've written with the single roles, and I can tell you, in my 30 years in the fire service, and all those years have been as a paramedic, okay, I have never completely gone through my protocols. Completely. These guys do it every day. Every day. So while like, if, for example, if you're in a municipality that's 27 square acres and has 3 level 1 trauma centers, your transport time is 10, 15 minutes. From the time you see the patient to the time you get to the hospital and you're clearing, it's 10, 15 minutes. So you can handle 35, 45, 55,000 calls a year. Okay. But in those 15 minutes, okay, these guys aren't even just caboose yet. It takes them, it's like a 2-hour trip to get down there and come back. So where in 15 minutes you could clear and be available for a call at other municipalities, at more metro places, these guys go on a call and they don't come back for 2 hours. For 2 hours. And you're talking about, okay, so who do we ask for help? The local fire departments only have like 1, maybe 2 available units, and they got their calls they have to run. You know, so everything that we do has to go with the mindset of that. We've got units that have 400,000 hours on the clock. If the average speed in this district is, let's say, 50 miles an hour, when you average, say, Hell's City and Highway 30, okay, that's 50 miles an hour. If you got 400,000 hours on that clock, it's 50 times 400,000. That's really how much miles that truck has. Okay, we're developing a vehicle replacement plan. Okay? We have that in place. That has to be in place. These are all standards and basic and best practices that administrations need to set up. Because the only purpose for administration, the only purpose, is to facilitate the service that the firefighter and paramedics on the front line provide. That's their only purpose. That's the only purpose that I have. I've mentioned to it before. If I wasn't in my office, it'd probably take you a month to figure out that I wasn't here. One of those guys isn't on that truck, it'll take you a Miami minute to figure out that they're not there. So it's not lost on me on what's important and who's important. Okay? But there has to be a process by which you handle it. And if things don't bring you the best bang for your buck, somebody has to make a hard decision. And that somebody is solely me. For example, we've decreased 5 positions already, and we're going to freeze another one. Okay, we've decreased six full-time employee positions and increased our revenue because of it. And I had a foreseeability that we were going to have another shortfall, so we had to look at positions again. Okay? So I mean, we have a plan. And it's the same thing that I've asked the board many times. We're in a changing process. This is a transition towards the other chapter for Columbia River Fire and Rescue. Okay? I live in this district. I pay taxes in this district. I am invested in this district. I can tell you that we have a plan and we will achieve it because this administration is not going to fail to meet a mission objective. And that's to provide the highest level of service that we can for the residents, the citizens, and the visitors to this district. And we're going to be there, but we're not going to get there by doing the same thing over and over again and thinking that it's going to make a difference. Somebody's got to make the decision. That's why I'm here. That's why you brought me here. We'll get there.
Any more for the chief? Chief Officer's report?
Yeah, I'm looking at the training report. It has testing for 22-3 PFS. So there's 6-month mark. What's,
Chief and all.
As a probationary firefighter. Our class of 22-3 is our third academy in the year 2023, and they are reaching their 6-month mark, so they're performing.
great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then let's move on. We don't have any old business, we have new business. 2 resolutions.
So I'll start with resolution, fiscal year 22-23-27. It's in your board packet, and I'll read you the back page. This is for the, Columbia River Fire and Rescue accepts the FEP, or Federal Excess Property Program vehicle identified as a Mercedes Unimog 4x4 vehicle, VIN number 435115011578 per the agreement. The agreement per the FEP is that the vehicle shall be operated, maintained, insured, and housed in an appropriate location for the duration of the utilization by Columbia River Fire and Rescue. If the district chooses to no longer continue utilization, the vehicle will return to FEP office or other designated agency for use. This is a standard FEP contract. We have several, we have FEP equipment at our joint maintenance facility. And we have a FEP truck that needs to go back anyway. So this is a process that we've done before. It does not cost anything to the district. The vehicle, once, as Chief Dina alluded to, it'll get here. We can start the process of going through it, find out what equipment it needs and what we're going to put on it. Working with Chief Halsey, who is our technical rescue officer, and with the group that's part of the TRT. So this is the first, and there's a picture of it, and for you guys to sign. Do you have any questions on that vehicle, or this, or the resolution 22, 23, 27?
I got several questions. Where did it come from and what was it used for?
So it was used by Royal Slope Fire in Washington. They used it as a recovery vehicle, and they use it for wildland firefighting.
Do we have maintenance records on it?
We do. We obtain all those when we go pick up the vehicle. Shop has already talked to their maintenance individual up there, received it. The vehicle has a number of new parts on it. They are taking the turret off the front, which we didn't want anyway, to keep that for another piece of equipment. We just wanted the vehicle for its high water capabilities, and the fact that we can mount equipment to it for TRT, which is the technical rescue team.
So it's not gonna be for wildland.
We're not making it wildland, no.
It's just for high water stuff.
It's for technical rescue.
Unless we get to the point that we don't get that $5,500 chassis that was ordered a couple of years ago. If that's the case, then we're gonna look at possibly using that vehicle for a rescue vehicle for the volunteers. Because that's what the volunteers do, is like the first electric stuff. It's an option that's available to us, and it's at no cost.
So what is it gonna cost the district to make it usable with radios, computers, technical rescue stuff? How much is that gonna cost?
So we have the radios, we have the lighting package, we already have all the equipment for it, other than we are looking at potentially mounting boxes for housing the equipment onto the flatbed that's on the back.
I want you to know that we reserved $55,000 to pay for that 5,500 chassis. Okay, because that was the contract, that's what was signed, that was what was done 2-3 years ago. So if we get to the point that we know that we're not getting that, then at mid-year modification, we'll realign the funds and then start working at that. But if we don't have a vehicle to work with, the point is moot. Now, if the chassis does come in and we don't see that we have a need for it for TRT, and we don't have the funds to do it, we just give it back. So just give it back.
So if we do outfit it and that other chassis comes in and we want to give it back, do we strip it of all the equipment and stuff that we put in?
I have no plans of outfitting that thing anytime soon. Okay, but it's one of those things that when that brass ring comes around, you gotta grab it. That vehicle became available along with the boat. You know, I mean, there's still a lot of questions that everybody asks. How are we gonna man it? What are we gonna do? What does it have on? How much money? I get that. I get it. But it's like one of the things that was asked of me is, why are we working so hard to get property now if we really don't look at building the station for another 4 or 5 years? Well, we can't wait 4 or 5 years to then start looking for land. It's this administration's job to bring foreseeability and plan. So when we get this vehicle, we'll figure out what we need it, how we use it, when we have it. Because we still have to go through it and make sure that everything that we have is worth it. If it's not worth it, then we'll just give it back.
Where will it be stationed at?
Right now, it's gonna be in the shop. Because as I said, it's gonna be there for evaluation only. I'm not spending a penny. I'm not spending a penny unless I know that I'm not throwing good money after bad. So nothing's gonna happen with it. It's gonna sit there and be parked. And then we'll probably be training people on how to drive it. There's a lot of things we can do before we start spending money. That's exactly what we're doing.
To answer your question, any equipment that we mounted on it, just like they did, we would take it off. Because the vehicles is the vehicle. That's what we're getting, not the stuff we put on. Now, we can choose to let them have the vehicle back with it, but just like the other FEP vehicle that we had, we took the pump and the tank out of it, and it's just went back as is how we received it.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution fiscal year 22-23-27.
For a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, so just, I'm abstaining from both of these because I'm the one that is the rep for ODF and I signed the release document to him, so signing this one too is not, doesn't look good, so I'm gonna.
Okay, then, minus Kelly. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? We just want to have some abstentions. Motion carries. Let's get started with the signature. Want to get started on the next one?
Okay. So this is for resolution fiscal year 22-23-28. Clear Fire and Rescue, accept the Federal Excess Property Program marine vessel identified as a 1997 Valco Bay Runner, VIN number or hull number 01293G George 798 per the agreement. The agreement, as stated by the FEP, is that the vehicle shall be operated, maintained, insured, and housed in an appropriate location for the duration of the utilization by Columbia River Fire and Rescue. Further, CRFR will make this vessel available for firefighting operation with state and local districts as necessary. The district chooses to no longer continue utilization of the vessel, will be returned to FEP officer or another designated agency for use.
That boat comes on a trailer. We've already started talking with the sheriff's office about possibly sharing space to keep it in the water. Now, whether we leave it in the water all year long or not, we haven't decided yet. We don't have the vessel. We need to take a look at it. The most I think that we're gonna spend on that vessel, I can tell you, is probably buy a cover for it and then park it at fleet maintenance, and then have fleet maintenance go through it and take a look at it. Because our fleet maintenance also does the work for the motorcrafts that the sheriff does. So it isn't like they don't have experience doing it. But again, go back to the same thing. We cover a lot of riverfront, a lot. And with the new riverfront property that's going in because of the plan of St. Helens, the fact that we don't have a marine vessel is staggering to me. So have we come out, have we decided about staffing? Have we decided about placement? Have we decided about equipment? No. Have we allowed any expenditures for funds to create those things? No. Why? Because we don't have it. But we'll have the boat. So if at some point in time, we can reallocate funds, because remember now, we do the budget on July, but we do a budget modification and review in January to see if we need to realign any kind of funds or what we have available, or if we're going to be short. Okay, that coincides with the audit that we do. This doesn't happen by accident. It's got to be planned out. So we can discuss, we'll discuss with the union and with the membership about staffing and certifications for using a marine vessel and all that kind of stuff at a later date, once we get the voting.
Again, where's it gonna be stored?
Fleet maintenance.
It's gonna be sitting outside.
We're gonna buy cover for it.
So the vessel's been gone through, we still would have to mount radios, light package, stuff like that. I'm working with Chief Halsey and Chief Pritchard to find, potential grant funds to outfit the vessel with necessary equipment for it to operate. This one is more unique. Part of the FEP program for this is that we are supposed to support wildland firefighting operations, should they be necessary along our border with the river. So if we have to shuttle Kelly's folks over to an island to fight a fire in the island, I guess that's what we do.
Outside my district.
So when we shuttle Kelly's folks over there, when Jason decides he wants them over there, we'll take them over the island for him, so. But this one is required for us to support if requested.
See, I want you to understand too, that the organization that I come from has like 5.5 miles, 6 miles of beachfront, oceanfront, plus a network of intercoastal canals. And we didn't have the money for a fire bill. We had a 26-foot contender with a hail pump on it. And we had 12 feet of 1 3/4 line. We would you could open the dive door, drop the hose in the intercoastal, start the hail pump, and just be able to spray water. My experience has shown me that better than nothing, that can be enough. Because we had the marine vessel come down here for a fire that we had, and that thing started blasting people off the dock. So sometimes a hail pump and 12 feet of 1 3/4 with a combination nozzle is all that you need. But we have to have something. Our patch has a marine emblem on it, and we have no marine unit. This is an aluminum hull boat that I think will suit our needs once I find the funding for it. And in the meantime, I'm taking no actions. But it's there. I mean, if we don't take it, then we might not ever get a marine vessel.
How many marine incidents have we responded to in the past 5 years?
None, because we don't have a marine vessel. All we do is we call SCAPUS, or we call the sheriffs, and they have to bring somebody down to take their boat, which is in St. Helens, and then respond. Okay, I can tell you, we've had 2 already. What's the last one where that guy was floating down?
We average about 3 to 5 year.
Yeah.
And
All those are life in peril. I mean, if somebody doesn't get them out of the water, it isn't like they're only gonna get waterlogged. I mean, they're either gonna get run over or they're gonna drown. So we need to have an availability to do that. We have nothing now. Nothing.
In the past, we've worked with the sheriffs. We'd send our crews down to their boat and then we'd go out.
And I understand that, but then we still have to wait for the sheriff. Having our own vessel that we control, that we train people on, that we have staffing for, which is ultimately the goal. Whether we can achieve it or not, that's a plan. Whether we achieve that or not, it remains to be seen. But that's the plan. It's completely different than having our guys sit with their gear at the dock site, waiting for somebody to come so that maybe we can get a ride to go and assist somebody. I just don't think that that's prudent, considering how much riverfront we actually cover. Again, if it doesn't work out, just give it back. It's a no-brainer to me. And I thank Chief Smythe for his work, because we've been talking about this for a while, with no avenue to be able to get a marine vessel. None. He's gotten us 2. So I think that's outstanding.
So I remember when we did have marine operations, the Dagmar, and we got rid of it because A, it wasn't utilized, and B, it was so expensive to train our firefighters to be NFPA marine operators. And I'm still not convinced that we can't work in conjunction with the sheriffs. And yes, it may take time to get down there and get on their boat and go. But even if you say we're just gonna store these boats, eventually, if we want to do marine operations, we got to figure out what it's going to cost.
I agree with you.
And I think the cost of training our people to NFPA marine operator is going to be very substantial, plus to keep them qualified. Because you're going to have to pay them overtime to go out in the boat and train, because you're not going to take a rig out of service to go out and train. So I'm just, I've got some concerns about this.
Okay, well, let me see if I can ease your concerns. Because I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with the statements that you just made. Okay, but we're talking about a vessel that doesn't cost us anything. We're talking about a district that has a huge amount of riverfront. And trust me when I tell you that if I don't have the funds for it, we're not gonna do anything to it. But we may not have another opportunity to come across this particular vessel. It may not ever happen again. So, yeah, all those things you say are true. And all those things were also before I got here. But remember, I come from a beachfront community with intercoastals. There's a lot of ways to run a marine unit. I'm very familiar with them. I don't think anybody who ever comes from Florida doesn't have a boat. So there's a lot of things that we can do. We just can't be one-dimensional about the way that we look at the issues that we have. And we have to have foreseeability. Okay? I don't know what's gonna happen when St. Helens starts doing their riverfront. I have absolutely no idea. Funding might fall from the sky. I mean, I could what if this all the time, which is exactly what we're doing. But by having the vessel that doesn't cost us anything and access to us, we can still continue using the sheriff's office until we effectively decide that it's gonna make an actual impact on the things that we do. Efficacy is our goal in everything that we do. That's why I look at everything. I look at everything in every aspect of this organization to make sure that we're working with the highest level of efficiency. Okay? Some people may not agree. Okay, we have different perspectives. I understand that. But my experience has dictated to me, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. That's the only thing we're saying. It's of no cost. I mean, I could very well likely be coming back to you a year from now and say, we don't need it, we need to give it back. But all that we're out is the fuel of going to pick it up. It's a benign, harmless action that could have huge benefits on the back end, especially if you happen to be one of the 4 or 5 people that end up in that river. Because we can use sheriff's office, but one of the other fire departments, their marine vessel sometimes is out of service. It's a service that I believe that we need to look at to provide.
And they have a no wake zone response.
Right, and they have no wake zone response, so it takes forever to get here. So, I mean, it's a service that we need to respond. Finding the funding, the manning, the staffing, the protocols, the procedures, trust me. Trust me, this isn't the first time I put together a marine unit. My experience will help guide us through this. We'll sit down with the membership and the local and figure out how it happens to best suit the district and the citizens we protect. Once we get to that point, we're not there yet. We're not even close to being there yet. I want to get past this next fiscal year and then take a look at things again. You know, but to not take that action, I think is more detrimental than to move on this vessel. But I leave that up to you, good gentlemen and lady, on what you want to do. If your sentiment is to not get it, you won't get it. That's why the resolution's in front of you.
We have, Sand Island has over 150 campsites on it. We're subject to a private contractor pontoon boat that at best can float a couple people and some gear. We don't have any access to that island by any other means. The sheriff's department does not staff their entire county at night. Most of their officers most of their deputies have to come in from home. So if we want to stand on the dock and watch somebody on the far side of the island have an issue and we can't get to them, we can't. Again, this is more going to be a boat for rescue or for going and picking up people on the island or picking up people from the various shorelines that we can't access to with our vehicles. It's an opportunity. If we don't, we give it back. If you guys don't want us to get it, we don't get it. But other than that, the other vessel I'm getting is for low water and it's for flood. It's not meant to go out in the river. It is a flat bottom boat, and with the chop that we have out there in the wintertime or any other time that when the water's rough, I wouldn't want to have my guys in that boat. It's not designed for that. This one is. And we take our time putting them together. If we don't have the funds, then we don't do anything with it right now. And again, when we give it back, we take all the stuff we mounted to it and take it off and give it back to them. Your gentleman's call and lady.
Well, I'd like to speak to that a little bit and stuff. But first of all, I was Well, similar when we had the first go around with the marine response. And I felt that we, went into it too deep in terms of we were trying to pretend that we were going to be able to have the same kind of response as Portland, the same kind of training. And I think we tried to do that for a long time, and it was very expensive, and it did not work out the way we wanted it to, because of the factors that Mark just talked about. Having that experience in our pocket, I think is just possible. And I think if we can indeed do something that's, then less than pretending that we're going to be Portland fireboat, then I think we're going to be St. Helens or a Columbia River Fire and Rescue fireboat. I think we can do that. Only we're probably not even going to be a fireboat. We're probably be a waterborne rescue boat that has some hail pump 12-foot inch and 3/4 hose on it. I think that's a good idea. And I think if we can contain that and meet the necessary criteria for the training and things like that, I think it's okay. And I think getting the boat shouldn't be too hard to us. Just at least initially. After that, when it gets starts the staff up, when we see the plan, have an opportunity to see what that is, what's going to cost, what it's going to be, then I think we're in a better position. Really make a really good decision about how far we can go. But generally, I think we should get it.
Okay, well then, is there a motion? That's what we're in tonight.
So moved.
And I will second the resolutions for fiscal year 22-23-20.
Okay, any further discussions? All those in favor of resolution 22-23-28, say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed? No, Kelly's
Abstain.
abstaining. Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Kelly abstained. Yeah, we'll have to have Kim. Let me hold on to that. All right. Let's wait for Mark's signed up. Okay, let's move on to board member comments. Kelly, you're at the end of the table.
Good.
Kim, do you have any comments?
Sorry, I do not.
Mark?
I just attended, fire policy committee meeting for BPSST down in Salem. People doing stupid stuff. All I can say. That's all. Thank you.
That's a rousing industry.
That's how come our district exists. It's just for that, people doing stupid stuff. No, I've been down to the reconstructed office, remodeled office. It looks good, I'll be glad when we do get our certificate of occupancy and everybody's there and I can drop in and spread hate and destruction wherever I go. So,
Yeah, done that well.
I know.
Only thing for me is, Aaron, I appreciate you coming tonight, and, yes, it was a long, discussion regarding the union contract, and we started in, March. and, we just wrapped it up. So, but I think, lots of things were good because a lot of people learned a lot of things about hardware, especially on this level, on this side, and I think that's great. So, but I'm also glad it's done. On those things. And that's it for me. So, so I think we're good. We can adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you all.
Hey Sanchez, if I need to sign up, just email them to me and I'll sign up and fax them back to you.
Copy, thank you.